What the Tech is brought to you by Text Expander. Text Expander helps you communicate smarter. Visit textexpander.com/podcast for 20% off your first year.
What's the tech? What's the tech?
Everybody, welcome to What the Tech. I'm Major Zarin. Of course, I'm joined by Mr. Paul Thurrott. How you doing, Paul?
Pretty good.
Pretty good. I'm doing wonderful. Today's a nice day. It's a beautiful day here in New York City. It's perfectly, the temperature's perfect. I could function. I'm not feeling overwhelmed in this room right now with it being 150 degrees. That may change by the end of the show. We fixed our camera issue, so we have two cameras again in the studio. We got this one back. We got a side shot back. Paul's looking beautiful. How do you feel today, Paul? I should ask you that.
I've
Feel
had
good?
better days. Had better days.
We've all had better days, Paul. I do want to. There's a lot to talk about. Last week we did our live Apple coverage. I think we were live for like 4 hours last week.
Yep.
We did like a marathon, and we had the video taken off of YouTube as we were doing the show. So we went to Twitch and we streamed on Twitch, which was fine. And then we did like a quick Q&A at the end of the show about everything that was happening. And I was so drunk for the end of the show. I was drinking throughout the watch along because I want to make it fun because those things are tedious at times.
Sure.
And I thought it went great when we were doing it, and then the show ended, and I said, "Oh my God, I was so drunk during that show."
Right.
But it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed doing it. You're not going to see that on CNET. That's what I kept telling people. You're never
Right.
going to see IS getting hammered on his live call-in show when they're doing a watch-along. I do have a lot to talk about. We had a week to kind of settle down and take it all in. And I ended up ordering the iPhone Pro Max. So, do you think I'm already getting instant regret because I tend to do that all the time whenever I make a big purchase like this, and then I start thinking about why I shouldn't be buying this, and did I need to spend $1,200 on a phone when I currently, I got a good one going. By the way, we're doing the show live. Front Page Tech, John Prosser, and the guys over there just gave us $5 in the super chat.
Wow.
So shout out to John Prosser and Front Page Tech. This guy's career is blowing up, by the way. He put out a video this morning or yesterday, and it's all over the place. I've seen it retweeted like 5,000 times from all different people. So he's doing an unbelievable job. So I want to talk about this iPhone. So I ordered it thinking, I have an iPhone 7 Plus, and I kind of want to be in the know with the latest hardware that's out there. It kind of sucks that I'm on an old product because, you got to remember, I have not used Face ID every day. So I can't really, and it kind of hinders when I'm talking about these things. So I ended up ordering it. And then now I'm thinking, that thing is huge, that Max. Do I need the big one? Or could I have gotten the regular size?
I don't think it's that big.
You don't think so?
No. I mean, my current iPhone is a 10R, and it's, kind of mid-size between the 11 and the 11. I'm sorry, the 11 Pro and the Pro Max. I mean, I want the bigger screen, to me, this thing's too small.
Did you order it? Or no?
So, yeah, convolutedly, yeah. I think I go through the opposite range of emotions you do. Like up front, I'm like, I don't need this thing. I don't want to spend this much money. I was literally looking at it on Friday. I could have ordered it, had it, day one. And then I was like, forget it. And then this morning, the first reviews started coming out. And with the exception of the New York Times, most of the reviewers called out the fact that the camera system's significantly better. The night mode is actually better than what's available today on the Pixel. And, that could change in a month, right? Because the new Pixel's coming. But I thought, and the guy over at The Verge, who I really like, his review, he had some really good. Yeah, he did a good job with both of the Pros, but with both the iPhone 11s. But it was, I never thought I'd say these words, but it was in many ways The Verge that kind of put it over the top for me. And so belatedly today, I actually did finally order it, and I'll trade in my, my 10R, obviously. So I won't get it until, sometime in October,
Oh, so
beginning of
what was the delay? Do you know what it
what was
was?
the
Or
delay?
the delivery? Yeah, like the week out. Like, what
Yeah,
was
it
it,
was
2 weeks
something
out?
like, I don't remember. Let me see. We're processing your order. Actually, now it's, oh, actually, this is, oh, that's the case. I was going to say, actually, that's a lot earlier than what they said. Oh, no, that's just the case.
What did you order from
October.
from Apple or your
Yeah, just
carrier?
from Apple. I could have, I guess the other thing I could have done was gone down to Apple the day this launched. I probably could have gotten it. But the thing I didn't want to dick around with was the trade in. So if I did it that way, I would have had to have traded in the phone immediately. And I'd
Mm.
like to be able to look at them side by side before I send in the old phone. So I also wanted to make sure I got the color I wanted and all that kind of stuff.
So
So,
I did it with the carrier, and I did it
hmm
that morning. That
hmm
literally. I'm trying to log in to see if Verizon is sold out as well. I know that they said that it beat expectations for.
yeah, I don't think that means anything though. I mean, I'm sure if a year ago, same thing with the 10s would have happened, but it's only a couple of weeks. I mean,
Yeah.
it's well, when does it actually come out? Like this Friday?
Friday. Friday, I should have it in my hands
Yeah,
on
so
Friday.
it's about, I will call it 2.5 weeks, um, because I waited. So
Okay,
whatever.
so
It's
deliver by 10/2 for Verizon.
it will come just in time for the Pixel event, and then I'll realize I want that instead.
Interestingly enough, the 64 gigs, I'm talking about the max, by the way, and I'm going with the regular Space Gray.
Yep.
Delivery is 10/2 for the 64 gig,
hmm
10/9 for the 256, and 10/9 for the other for the 512. Same for the Hunter Green, except for the 256. If you got the 256 and Hunter Green, you could
hmm
have it on launch in 10 days, actually. So
Oh
you're
well.
waiting
Yeah.
regardless.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Interesting how well it's sold. So I
And you
ordered
got
it.
which one you got? You said you got the kind of blackish one.
Yeah, I got the Space Gray 256. I could have. You know what's funny? I was debating if I should get the 256 or 64, and for my job, I have
hmm
a lot of photography that I do. I do a lot of
Yep.
video editing, and I keep all of it on my phone. Um, since everything is so cloud based now, we really don't even notice how much storage we really need. I'm only using 29 gigs on this phone, and I haven't wiped it out in a very long time. So I could have gotten away with the 64 gig. But why
Yeah.
risk it? It's a couple bucks more monthly. So it really doesn't matter that much. But are you getting the 256 or the 512?
That's hilarious. I'm getting the 64,
Okay.
and um, because this will never be my primary phone, right?
Got it. Okay.
Well, you know what? Why did I even just say that?
It might
There's
be.
always a chance. There's always a chance, but I don't think it will be. I'm sure the new Pixel will be just as good, if not better, from a camera perspective. It works 100% with Google Fi, which is what I use. Um, I have to have an iPhone. I mean, I could have kept this other one. Obviously, it runs iOS 13, etc. So, um, we'll see.
By the way, Front Page Tech and John Prosser gave you $5 as well and says, here's to
Mhm.
Paulie T too. They're big fans of yours.
Oh, thank you so much.
They're a huge fan of yours. So we're getting tipped today. This
Where
is
are they?
nice.
Where
I
is
like this.
John? Where is he out of? Does he live in New York,
I want to say Ohio.
Ohio?
I want to say Ohio. I could totally be making that up.
You don't even know where he lives. He lives in a
It's
bunker
either
somewhere in
Indiana
Kentucky,
or Ohio, one or the other.
right?
I'm positive it's one or the other. I could come close. I could come
Secret
within 2
government
states.
installation.
Yeah. Yeah, so I ordered it. I'm getting it on Friday.
Yep.
I'll do a quick little review of it, which will be a lot of fun. It's Ohio, by the way. Yeah. And
Okay.
he
Well,
called me a bad name. Also today, I'm going to be reviewing this little thing. Paul, you see this thing? It's the Lutron Aurora dim switch.
I'm sorry. The what?
The switch dimmer. It's a dimmer
No.
for the
What
smart
was that
light.
first word?
Dim s-
Latron.
Lutron. Lutron. Lutron.
Lutron.
Lutron. Lutron. How do you say it?
Well, my father worked for the company,
Did he?
and his brother was the CEO. So,
Okay, so
yes,
it's a Lutron.
Lutron.
I guess Lutron is not proper.
It's a
Lutron.
family-owned business based out of, well, near Allentown, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, so I didn't know that about you guys.
Yeah.
So you have one as well. You have one that was sent to you as
So this
well.
must have just arrived right before the home swap because I
Yes, it did.
vaguely remember getting some lighting thing and then thinking I will have to deal with this after the home swap, but I don't even know where I put it. I must have packed it downstairs with some other stuff.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about this thing because this is
Okay.
actually a dummy-proof way to control your smart lights,
Yep.
and
Sounds good.
I've actually changed my whole house over to these smart bulbs, and it's the biggest annoyance when somebody turns the light off. And it's almost impossible to prevent someone from doing that unless you replace
Yeah.
all the light switches in your house and it gets costly. You know, these things are
Mhm.
not inexpensive when you're looking to kind of swap these out that you want a smart switch that's not going to, break the bank. You're going to still spend about $40 for a lot of these. So this is a little bit of a less in cost method, but it's a very simple method where a lot of people could incorporate. I want to talk about this at the end of the show. Also, we're doing a Q&A as well at the end of the show. But I do want to talk a little bit about the Apple event because we kind of went over it really quickly. We spoke about the iPhone. Anything else, thinking about it, having a couple days pass, that is standing out to you that we over, it was a little bit of an oversight on our side,
Mhm.
or your opinion changed a little bit because I know that we were talking about the camera a lot, and we were
Right.
saying how, Huawei has a phenomenal camera, the Google Pixel is a phenomenal camera,
Mhm.
and that at the end of the show last week, we were saying how if you have an iPhone 10s, maybe this is not the upgrade to make. Shockingly, I
Yeah.
have seen reviewers not take that stance on this phone, and they're saying that this is a major improvement over the previous phone,
Yeah.
especially with the camera, with the display, and overall quality of the upgrades.
I mean, I think the camera's the big one, honestly. It's you'd be hard pressed to make a case for a year over year upgrade for any expensive phone these days. But I think there's a fallacy in the iPhone world that these guys have like the best cameras. I don't think there's been any year where the iPhone had the best camera. But they're always kind of near the top, right? And so it looks like this time they could be a serious contender for that. I still don't think anyone with a 10s or 10s Max should even consider upgrading to this thing. But in your case, like anything like pre-Face ID, I mean, this is a no-brainer. And we
Yeah.
talked about that aspect of it last week, right? You don't buy the new VW model. You buy the one that's 7 out of 8, 7/8 of the way through the life cycle. This is that version of that phone. It's the third iteration. They've had a bit of experience with it. They know how to do it right. The battery life is better. I mean, if you like iPhones, I mean, there's not much you can say. I don't think we missed anything from last week. I the thing that's changed for me since then is the thing I said earlier, which is the photography bit, because Apple can put up professional shots on a screen, and I mean anyone can do that. But the reviewers, and like I said, the Verge in particular, with the video review, did a really nice job of spelling out like, you know, this is actually better, and in many cases better than even the Pixel at night photography, which is a big deal.
Yeah,
So
so for people who are curious about what review this is, it's on the Verge's front page. Nilay Patel did it. The title is iPhone 11, Apple iPhone 11 Pro and Pro Max review. The battery life is real, and the best camera you could get on a phone. So they were very adamant on
mhm,
saying in that review that this is the best smartphone camera. It could until like a couple of weeks from now, until Google puts it out. It's possible that that changes, but they were very impressed by the video quality. They were very impressed under low light photography, and they did a very detailed comparison. Huawei's phone was not. Which one is their top one with the camera?
P30 Pro right now,
Okay,
but they're about
yeah,
to come out with a Mate 30.
that was not in the review because that obviously is not accessible to a lot of people. It's not an
Yeah,
easy purchase to make. So compare this to the previous iPhone and I believe the
the
Note
Pixel 4, the
10
Pixel 3.
and the Pixel 3.
Yep.
This stood out in many categories. Now, obviously, it doesn't do everything the best way,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
overall,
yeah.
this was their pick. But I was very surprised when they said this is a upgrade. It's not a skip over if you have an iPhone 10 or 10s, which I was very surprised by
Yeah,
that stance.
I still like I said, that's the one thing that they said where I was like, look, that's just not good advice for most people. I mean, the people who were going to do that anyway have already made up their mind. They don't need someone to okay it for them. The iPhone 10s. The camera is great, actually. I mean, it's great. It's
Yeah.
not top of class, but it's a rarefied area there. So I don't know. What would they give you on trade on an iPhone 10s? Like 600, so even if it was $600, you're talking about spending $600 to
Yeah.
get a slightly better camera. I don't know. Slightly better
Um,
battery life.
they were willing to give me $150 for my 7 Plus, and I
Yeah.
decided I'm not
Yeah.
gonna trade it in. It's pointless to get it for $150 off.
Really?
I could
Wow.
use this as a backup, as a secondary. There's many things
Hmm,
I could use this phone for. I
okay.
can't look at it as, if it was like $300, 100% I would have handed it in. Or
Oh, of course.
$250,
Yeah.
I probably would have thought about it. At $150,
Yeah.
you know what? I could have this as a backup. I could have it as a secondary. I could give it to somebody.
Hmm.
I feel a lot better holding this for that.
Sure.
Google also announced that they're having an event next month in New York, October 15th. And in the billboard in Times Square, they
Right.
are showing the orange Pixel. That's what
Yeah.
it's, and it shows you that ridiculous, iPhone esque square
Hmm.
camera bump on the back. I'm very curious about what your stance is on this phone. Do you think this is going to be as good as the 3? I know that you were a big fan of the previous Google Pixel.
Well, the thing I'm a fan of is the 3A XL, the less expensive one. You probably experienced this. Like, one of the weird side effects of this move to all glass phones, aside from the slipperiness and the breakability and so forth, is sometimes they can really kind of rattle when you play sounds, like that
Hmm.
vibrates off the glass. So if you're watching a movie or listening to music through the built-in speakers, it has this terrible, or it can have, depending on the phone, a vibration or an echo or whatever you want to call it. The 3XL, the Pixel, was particularly bad in that regard. The Note 10 Plus has it just a little bit. I don't. It's probably not completely avoidable when you use all glass because the sound's going to be bouncing off of it. There's not much you can do about it. But that was it was one of my things with the phone. It just kind of made it hard to use. So I'm, the design is what it is. They're going to have a new color. That's neat. I'm very interested in well, their first rear multi-camera setup. Remember, the one of the nice things about the 3XL was that they have two cameras in the front that enables the super wide selfie mode. And what that is basically is a response to selfie sticks. Once you have that, you don't need a selfie stick because no matter how short your arm is, you can hold the thing out and it takes in a broad, wide area. It's really nice. The new iPhones have that, which it's a really cool feature.
So,
So,
have you seen the ads, I guess Google has put out already,
mhm,
where it's doing gesturing? So it
yeah,
unlocks, the person comes up, you look at it, it
yep,
unlocks, and you're able to kind of gesture around. Listen,
no,
I don't know if that's
nope,
anything I would be interested in, or how often someone's
stupid.
going to use that.
Remember that was the marquee feature from the Galaxy 7, maybe
I
S7. I
think the
mean,
5. I think it was the
well,
5.
yeah, it was forever ago, and it was quickly just dropped off the face of the earth. Right? I think the next one had it, but it was buried in settings and it was off by default. And they just kind of got rid of it. I don't see a lot of people doing little magic gestures over a phone.
Can you imagine? People are just
Yeah.
doing this. Why?
Well, I mean, there's some S Pen stuff uh, in the new Note 10 that like that. Same thing. You wave the pen around. That stuff does not interest me. So pure Android's great. Google Fi compatibility is great. But really, when it comes down to it, with the Pixel, what you're talking about is the camera. And so, by name, there's no avoiding it. It's going to be really interesting to see where that goes.
Yeah, I am also. The other thing that people are excited want to know more about is the battery life on the Pixel, because they're not that great, the batteries on these things.
Yeah, yeah,
And from what I have read, don't expect it to get, a four
hmm,
hour boost like Apple's saying.
right.
They're smaller batteries. I don't know. I think, listen, Google's done a great job with their cameras on these
Yep.
phones. They have not done a
It's
great
pretty much
job
the
at
only
convincing
thing they've done
people.
a great job on.
Yeah,
When
I
it
know.
comes down to it. I mean, it's like the rest of it. There's been reliability issues. There's been all kinds of problems. So
Also, OnePlus has an event coming up September 26th.
yes, next week.
Yes,
So
so I saw this on
yeah,
your website. You know what's interesting about this company? They have been around for a long time at this point.
yeah,
They've had
yeah.
multiple versions of their OnePlus line. They've had
Hmm.
multiple products. It seems like now they're getting the a little bit more attention. Initially, it was because they were a
Yeah,
inexpensive phone that was a flagship. They called it a flagship killer. Uh,
right.
I'm going to use that term very, you know, loosely here. What are
Yep.
you opening some beer?
That's no. I'm opening Kirk Qua sparkling water.
I thought you're cracking one open right now. You just
Yeah,
gave
I
up on
am.
the day.
I am, but it's seltzer.
What do you make? What do you make of this phone, the One Plus?
The OnePlus 7 Pro, their current phone until next week, is the single best smartphone I've ever used, except for the camera. And these guys consistently nail it, except for the camera. It's kind of amazing. There's this quirky stuff with them, and they don't officially support dunking the thing in water, even though it will probably be fine, but that's not much of a guarantee. They don't have wireless charging, let alone reverse wireless charging. But by and large, the performance, the screen refresh, remember they have the high refresh rate on the screen. They do a nice job with the Android UI. They do a lot of performance bumps of their own, really nice. The camera is just like it's just not there. I'll say for whatever it's worth, to ruin my upcoming review, the camera on the Note 10 Plus is not quite there. It's very good, and there are times where it's fantastic, but it just doesn't live up to the high end phones that I care about, like
That's
the
interesting.
Pixels and the Huawei's. And the OnePlus 7 Pro camera is not even in the same category. It's not even
It's
close.
that bad.
So yeah, it's really not good at all. So when we look at that event next week, and we'll see I think there's going to be two phones, but for the US market, probably just be the one. It will be the 7T Pro, I guess, or 7 Pro. Yeah, 7T Pro. I guess they're going to call it 7 Pro T. I don't know. Whatever it's called. Uh, they, I hope they fix I hope they fix the camera, because it would be
So
the perfect phone. They would get it.
there was a leak on Twitter, and the reports are the
Mhm.
exact specs of the three cameras. It's a 60 megapixel, 77 millimeter ultra wide angle camera with a 117-degree field of vision, a 48 megapixel, 26 millimeter wide angle lens at
Well,
f1.6, and a 12 megapixel, 55 millimeter telephoto lens at f2.2 with 2x optical.
so I don't know the specs of its predecessor off the top of my head, but I wouldn't be surprised to discover that the hardware specs are identical to the previous phone.
Yeah.
Um, I'm not 100% sure that's the problem, right? I think it's software. These
Oh,
guys
interesting.
did implement I think it's maybe it's 3x. There's some kind of optical zoom in there. I guess it's probably 3x. Um, they have the three modes. They do the same sort of thing in the camera app that Samsung does, which I really like, which is you've got three hardware lenses, and you've got a toggle on the display to go between them, right? From telephoto to normal to wide, which I think is really neat. Um, the hardware is probably fine. I think they're all or mostly Sony elements. They're probably it's probably very good hardware. I just don't think they're there with the AI, the software stuff that Samsung, Google, and Huawei all have, and Apple too, I should say now. A lot of experience tweaking the software and getting that just right. I just don't think that just has not been an area of expertise for them.
Yeah, it seems like it's a game now, right? It's not one thing anymore that makes these cameras good. You're seeing it on the Apple side. I think Apple did not just improve the quality of their lenses. I think what they're doing, the software has improved over the
Yeah.
year over
Oh
year
yeah, yeah, yeah,
for
for
them.
sure, for
And
sure.
this is what Google has done great with. You got to remember,
Yep.
it was one lens
I know.
for a
That's
very
the
long
thing.
time for them.
That's why you never rule out Google in this game, because they have been at the top, or very recently, just right almost at the top with one lens. Like everyone else had two and then three. Um, that's the power of math. So we'll see. I mean, it's possible too. We should throw out the notion that this is the first time they've ever done multi-lens, at least on the rear camera. And maybe their software, which has been optimized for a single lens, won't be as, maybe it won't be the total package. We'll see, but I suspect it's going to be fantastic.
Yeah, I anticipate it's going to be
That's
great.
my guess.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm very surprised to hear that the camera's not good on the Note 10. I have a problem with Samsung cameras. I've been in that ecosystem for a very long time. I mean, I had the S5, the S6, the S6, uh, yeah, S7. I had the S9 even right now currently as my Android phone.
Hmm.
I've always felt that they put too much processing on their photos.
Yeah. Yeah.
It always looks like there's like it's
Right. Like a fine
extreme,
sheen over
like a
someone's face
fine
or something.
sheen over someone's face.
Yeah.
Exactly. Whenever I take it,
Yeah.
everything is very flat. You don't.
Yep.
I don't know why. I don't know why it's like that. And
I
some
think it's
people
on
love it.
purpose. I think it's how they that's part of their software. Part of their the algorithm or whatever it is that they have for processing photos. Like it's just an effect. I'm sure it's designed to make pimples look smaller or not existent or something. I'm sure it was done for the right reason, but yeah, it's not great.
Yeah, it's. I always find it fascinating on how they've always looked like that, and it's a total opposite on the Google side. The Google side is a little bit more noisier, but in a
Yeah.
good way. You know,
Right.
it's not flattened out. I'm curious to see how well this camera does. I'm excited to get it.
Yep.
I'm excited to get it tried in low light situations.
Hmm.
That interests me tremendously. I think that's the shortcoming of a lot of these cameras. You can take any camera out, go outside, and in perfect lighting get the most amazing photo. You could do that
Yep.
with an older phone. You could do that with an iPhone. I mean, listen, now it's a little bit of a stretch, but you could take a solid photo if you take an iPhone 5, like a
Yeah.
5S or
On a
something, and
perfectly
put it
sunny day
on a
outside.
perfectly sunny day outside
Yeah.
on a tripod with nothing moving. You could get an amazing picture.
Yep. No, I had
So
that experience with the Samsung. I mean, I'm not particularly impressed by this camera. Um, Takes okay pictures. A lot of time they're washed out. But one day out in a farm, beautiful sunny day, lots of green, nice contrast. It's one of the best pictures I've ever taken with a phone.
it's
But,
amazing.
1,000 pictures in, I've also taken a lot of the crappiest pictures I've taken recently with high end phones. I mean, if it wasn't for the OnePlus, in some ways, this would probably be the worst camera I have, which is saying something because it's actually a really good camera. It's just that the other ones are so much better.
Interesting. So I'll have
Yeah.
probably next Tuesday on the show. I'll have like a full,
Hmm.
experience, a weekend worth of photos
Yeah.
and everything with this phone. So I'll talk about it obviously next week. But on Friday I'll do like a little quick thing because I do want to kind of talk about it, and I'm kind of excited to get it. I didn't order any cases. I got to order a case.
You got to get a case.
I have to get a case. I know. I have to get a
You can
case.
just go to the Apple store and get one of those.
Is that what you did? You got like the Apple case?
No, no, I ordered it doesn't matter, mine's coming late anyway, so my
Yeah.
my case will arrive, on the 30th or something, and then the phone could arrive, like, 8 or 10 days later.
My office is right by the Fifth Avenue store, so
Mhm.
I could
Yeah,
just
just walk in
walk
and grab
2
one.
blocks down and get it over there, which is always a nightmare, by the way,
Just
that
don't
store.
drop it on the way there.
You know what? I I would not be surprised if I did. It wouldn't be one
You
of those
horrible
things where
tragedy.
yeah, it's not one of those things where I would say, "Oh my god, I could never imagine myself doing this." No, that's something I would 100% do, is drop it
Uh,
on the way to the Apple store to get a case.
the P30, the Huawei P30, the day it's all glass, I was really, really worried about it. And so, all glass phones, people probably experience this. If you put it, like, on the arm of a chair or something, it will slide off. Like it will catch the slightest curve and ride it. They're
Yeah.
really, really dangerous. And I ordered a case. The case arrived. I brought it in. I brought the box that contained the case into the kitchen. Put the box down with the phone on top of it. Turned to the sink to do whatever, make coffee or something. The phone slid off of the box and broke.
Oh my
And
god.
it slid off of the box containing the case that was going to protect the phone. Yeah, I just, you know,
Yeah,
fortunately, it was just the back, so the case covers the crack. But yeah, I broke it. Like I broke
terrible.
yeah,
Terrible.
it's
I
the
want to
worst.
continue on, but before we do, I want to thank Don N in our YouTube chat. 4.99, another $5, Paul. Today we're making during the show. If you
What is
enjoy
this
the
like a?
podcast,
It's like a
I don't know.
telethon. What's
It
going
is
on?
like a telethon. I think you know what I kind of feel bad about myself today. I'm having a bad day.
I
This is
see.
brightening up my day. All these people that care about us, they're
Okay.
giving us $5.
Wow.
It's an amazing thing. We live in an
Sure.
amazing time right now where people could just say like, I like those two guys. Here's $5. You know,
Wow.
I think it's
Okay.
amazing. Guys, if you enjoy this podcast, if you listening on demand, you can watch us live every Tuesday, generally every Tuesday at 1 p.m. East here on YouTube, youtube.com/Mattman, jeez, slash What the Tech podcast. That's youtube.com/What the Tech podcast. You can just search What the Tech. You can find us. Also on our website, gfqnetwork.com, you can subscribe to the show where everywhere podcasts are available. And we do this live show. We got a chat room. People are funding us. They're hitting that super chat button and they're sending us whatever. They're showing their support, which is amazing. You could also fund us in a different way. You get access to our bonus content that we record after the show. If you go to patreon.com/whatthetech, that's patreon.com/whatthetech, and you can fund us over there. I want to get your opinion on a lot of the rumors circulating around the Surface event now. We did not talk about this last week. I was sent a link. I'm kind of disconnected from this because I don't want to get my hopes up that there's going to be some miracle device. I don't anticipate there to be this unbelievable Surface device that nobody knows about. But again, the rumors are coming out that they are going to have a foldable device.
Well,
people are talking about this again, and I feel like they might be setting
I don't know what
themselves
that's,
up.
Right. I don't know what that's based on. I will say, just from a timing perspective, that knowing this was happening in October, knowing what Microsoft did with Windows 10 this year, where they made the recent release, the one's coming out like any day now, a very minor kind of cumulative update instead of a big feature update, that the next release would be a big deal. We know they are working on this Light OS thing. We know that it has to be tied to some version of Windows 10, so it coming for that version early next year would make some sense. Here's an October event. It's before this Windows 10 release. It's going to be a big deal, even though we don't know anything about it. So it's fair to conject that Microsoft will be adding APIs or capabilities to the platform where developers can take advantage of folding displays, dual displays, whatever you might want to call that stuff. Now, as far as the hardware goes, I mean, we know that PC makers, Dell and Lenovo, are working on folding displays, right? So it's going to be built into the platform at some point. Would Microsoft show off their own idea for this? Would it be a prototype? Maybe. Would they show off third-party devices? Maybe, but it's typically these things are it's just Microsoft. So, they've never done that, but you never know. Is this going to be the Centaurus, Andromeda, Light OS? No. I mean, almost certainly no. I don't think they're ready for that, and I've heard that from multiple people.
So it was, I don't know if I read it with you or somebody else, but within Windows 10 support documents, Core OS was spotted. Right? It said something
that
about
that means nothing.
So is that what is that?
This is
something
I'm
that
sorry,
they've been
but
working on?
I read that story and I am freaked out by how nothing this is. It's nothing. And the article you're referring to even said something like, support documents make note of Microsoft's innovative Core OS.
Yes. That's exactly what it is. Yeah.
No, there's nothing there is nothing innovative about it. Nothing. And I want to be really clear about that. I don't mean it to be like, I don't mean it in a jerky way, like nothing Microsoft could ever do is innovative. I don't mean it like that. That's not what I mean. What I mean is, since 1990, I'm not going to get the year right, 97, 98, 99, somewhere in that time frame, Microsoft has been working to modularize, not componentize, although we often use that term, but really modularize the Windows operating system, the NT-based Windows operating system that we now use. The reason they've been working on that is because they've always seen a world in which Windows ran on multiple devices, from the tiniest embedded chip in a switch somewhere in a wall to a watch, to a PDA, to a phone, to a tablet, to all kinds of computers, to all kinds of servers, clustered, whatever, like that. This is the range, and in the Windows 10 timeframe, this work, which has continued unabated all of those years, the 20 plus years, at some point it became called Core OS, the lowest module that includes the kernel and the necessary support services to bring up at least a command line something where you can run code and whatever. It's just called CoreOS. There is nothing innovative about it. Nothing. And so I think when people talk about something like Light OS, right? Or whatever they will call this thing, the what I think of as Microsoft's Chromebook competitor, what that thing is that CoreOS plus some other layers of the onion, some less than full Windows. So it's lighter than Windows, but guys, almost everything is lighter than Windows. What does
Okay, so
that mean?
here's a question for you
You know?
though. I want to
Mhm.
get your opinion of this. What do you think a lighter version of Windows is? Like, what
Well,
would it
yeah,
lack compared to a
yep,
regular version of Windows? That when we're talking, and
yep.
what are the benefits of a lighter version of Windows?
Oh, geez. God. So I could go on this topic for 2 hours, but I will say the basic version is everything that makes Windows Windows is what you need to get rid of for Windows. No, I know it sounds terrible. For Windows to be light, for it to be secure, for it to be battery efficient as it can be, you literally have to get rid of the Win32 API essentially, which you can't. I mean, the Win32 API, some subset of it is always present, really, but what you're really getting rid of is the ability to run legacy desktop applications, which are unsafe, which are unreliable, which are unknown because they could be anything. They could do anything
Mhm.
to your system in any way. You need a system that now it's always going to be there. Like if you ran like Windows Phone 8 or Windows CE back from 19 actually it's Windows CE. It's previous to the dates I said. Windows CE was the first result. Actually, it came out in 1995. There you go. So actually, it's 25 years um, since they've been modularizing Windows. Windows CE was a subset of the Win32 API where they chopped off. It's what Apple did to make the iPhone compared to the Mac. They took the thing they had, they chopped off all the stuff they didn't need, and then they added a couple things related to touch and to styluses and things like that, on-screen keyboard, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah. So anyway, I'm sorry, I'm getting
No, no,
getting
no. I'm enjoying
far
this.
afield
Go
there,
ahead.
but
You're not getting
but
that far off.
think about what um, Chrome OS is, especially what it's become. Because in the beginning it was super stripped down. Here's a system that can run on minimal hardware, minimal like PC style hardware. You couldn't run Windows on a Celeron based laptop with 2 gigs of RAM and 16 gigabytes of eMMC storage. Like it would be impossible, literally, I think, to even hold the system. Um, it would not work, but Chrome OS works on such a system. So how is that? It's obviously it's the call this in the Linux world, but basic chunk of the Linux kernel and some support services related to file IO and blah blah whatever else. It's really small. That system is modular,
Yeah.
and it's one of the reasons Linux is really good on like embedded devices of all kinds. It's in phones. I mean, it's been
It's
it,
been like
it
that for
works well in those situations.
20,
Yeah.
20 plus
So
years at this point.
all this thing has to do is bring up the web browser. Not really, but that's the basic deal. So could Microsoft bring a Chrome OS competitor that's Core OS plus, the non Win 30? I mean, Win 32 is always there, but the not the ability to run desktop apps, but to run some of these. What's the good term? Well, we'll just call them store apps. Apps that are, you
Microsoft
know,
Store, certified apps,
certified. That's a good way to
Yeah.
put it because the idea is that like a store, like a UWP app, like an actual modern app. The way that platform works is it is a known quantity. It's not like a Win32 app. Win32 apps are in the store. I mean, honestly, you can only do so much with that thing. You've kind of encapsulated it in its own little bubble, but it can still do more than a true
I
store app.
think a lot of this has to do with the fact that Windows as an operating system, due to supporting legacy and all these other things, it's a very it's a risky device for someone that isn't in tune with what they're doing, right? Would you agree with that?
Yeah,
If
yeah,
if you are not aware of your habits online and what you're clicking on and what you're downloading, what you're
yeah,
opening, it's a it's a it's actually it's quite dangerous for you because there's vulnerabilities for you. You don't
Right.
really have that on the phone because not necessarily that this is more safe as as a operating system because
Right.
your habits are different on this device.
Yeah. I mean, I think you're right, by the way. I mean, but I think th- it's likely that the most successful hacks or electronic attacks or whatever are social engineered. You get an email that looks like it's from Apple and it says, "Hey, your purchase for this $200 something went through," and you're like, "I didn't make that purchase," and you click on the link, and then then the code runs, and you open yourself up to something. But I mean, obviously, phones are going to be the big target now. I mean, in some ways, it's kind of a funny side effect. I mean, all of the stuff from the past doesn't go away. I mean, all this terrible stuff that you could do to Windows and has been done to Windows doesn't go away. But
Yeah.
because hackers are going to turn their attention to the lowest hanging and biggest fruit,
And that's
which is
mobile.
mobile, you know, I mean, maybe that Windows thing isn't so insecure after all. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
just by it's kind of like security by obscurity in a way. I mean,
Yeah,
in the
that's
day,
exactly what it is.
well, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
you could make an argument. You don't need antivirus on a Mac. Yeah, because no one's attacking the Mac. It's not that because the Mac is inherently more secure. It's not. Um, if there was a bigger audience, that thing would be hacked more. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, Windows was the audience. I mean, today Windows is still a sizable
It's
audience,
not
but my God,
it's not that a
billions of
DMG
people.
file on the Mac is safer than an exe file on Windows, you know?
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
it's not
exactly.
like that. But
No, it's
you
not like
bring
that
up
at
an
all.
interesting point here. When you talk about vulnerabilities, why obviously social engineered scenarios like what you
Will work
described,
anywhere. Yeah.
it works anyway. Listen, I almost got caught in one the other day. I had an Apple ID thing
Hmm.
saying that somebody logged into my Apple ID, and when I open it, I if I wasn't paying attention, or if I was someone that really didn't know this, I would have clicked on that link and I would have put my password and username in, 100%.
Yep. Yep.
It just even people obviously I didn't because I realized that this is a weird email to get,
Yeah.
but that is obviously the number one way that you're getting targeted.
Hmm.
But as far as malware and spyware and things like that, is it that it's not happening on the iPhone and on Android as much as we would imagine it is, or we don't even know when it's happening?
Yeah, I think it's the last. So
Yeah.
Eric Snowden's book just came out today. I haven't read it, but one of the claims he makes is that the U.S. government can break into any iPhone and does break into iPhones, and you know, so the iPhone, like the Mac, is not inherently more secure than anything else. It's just as these things become bigger and bigger. I mean, I think that's the story. Remember, for a while, like the big thing in security vulnerabilities was Flash, right?
Yeah.
These Adobe products. For a while it was actually Microsoft Office. They're looking for big volume, and there's no such thing as secure software, really. I mean, ultimately, you're going to have, all of this stuff can be hacked. So yeah, of course, iPhone users are an ample opportunity for hackers. They like to spend money. They probably trust Apple a lot. They put all their credit card information in there. Um, I don't want to say they're extra dumb and would click on links and give away their, but I mean,
Listen,
that's any group.
when you have millions and millions of tens of millions of people
Yeah,
using your device daily, it's a
they're a
the
target.
fact that they are a target, but the fact that
Yeah.
we don't hear about this as much as I would
Um,
assume is a little alarming. I don't think it's it's because of Apple's amazing security.
no,
I
every month, Apple and Google release security updates for their products every month. It's this is this battle is happening every day. I mean, we may not hear about it, but I kind of think we do hear about it, don't we? Did we hear about? Wasn't all the celebrities with their nude photographs, that those were iPhones?
Those were all iPhones.
Um,
Yeah, that was a major vulnerability. Yeah.
those, and I know it was a few years ago now, but I mean, I those are the stories. I mean, that's what you.
And think about how many people that happened to that weren't celebrities. Just
Of course, of
even
course.
based on social hacking. I mean, I've given you this example. I did this with a friend of mine. That obviously I didn't go all the way through with it, but we were talking about it. We were all hanging out. We were all talking about this around the
Mhm.
time the celebrities got compromised, and they were
Right.
saying how oh, how could anybody get hacked like that? And I brought up the simplest thing. I logged on right in front of them with my laptop. I went into iCloud. I
Mhm.
guessed what her the recovery password is based on the questions that
Right.
she had set, like her cat's name, you
Mhm.
know. And I could have done this in the middle of the night. I could have done it at 2 o'clock in the morning when they're
Right.
fast asleep. They're not going to see that notification saying that there was a password reset or somebody logged in. You pull all the data off, and by the time they wake up, not a clue what happened. It's all gone. So
Yeah.
yeah, social engineering is the number one thing, but you know what you always hear, or you don't hear. You never hear someone say, "Oh, my iPhone got hacked." But you hear that about their people's computer. I got a
Yeah.
virus. My
Well,
computer got hacked. I don't
I
think, by
guess
the way,
so.
I
I
think
mean,
it's used poorly, that term, for a lot of people.
it seems like the PC hacking stories of late have always involved some government, some municipality somewhere, some military thing where someone has broken into their system and they've held it for ransom, right? The ransomware kind of thing. Like it seems like that's where the PC hacking has gone. I There's no reason I suppose that couldn't happen with phones and such, but I always I don't mean to say like I welcome a ransomware attack per se. I mean I don't obviously, but the way if you do things in a modern efficient way, you should never lose anything, or at least not lose that much, if someone commandeers your computer or your phone and holds it for ransom, because that stuff should all be somewhere else.
Yeah.
It should always be backed up on the cloud and multiple places if you're smart. I don't know.
It is
I don't know.
interesting. It is interesting. But again,
My
this
computer's probably a zombie on some network right now, probably
I know that
receiving
nobody
commands from
knows.
Romania. Yeah, who knows? I don't know.
But I think it's an interesting discussion to have because it's less about what's vulnerable on a software side and more
Yeah,
about social engineering and how my patterns, my usage habits are affecting or
yeah.
there's more of a likelihood of me getting compromised.
I mean,
I
your phone is, I mean, it is in some ways inherently safer than a Mac or a PC because it's a more modern design and it's, whatever. I mean, the App Store model that we use for apps across these platforms is certain inherent things that are just more secure and better in many ways than the old school, what you do on a Mac or a PC. But yeah, the weakest link is always going to be you, not you,
yeah.
Andrew, but I mean, you, the owner of the phone. Um, you get a little ticked off. It's like you pick the thing up and you're like, man, it takes a long time for the screen to come on. Maybe I'll stretch it out to 5 minutes, you know,
Yeah.
and then someone could walk away with your phone and it's logged in,
Yeah.
and then you're screwed.
So we were talking about the the Surface event
Oh,
while we
were we?
went into this. Yeah, we were
Yes.
actually.
Okay.
We were talking about some of the products that they're going to
Oh, yeah,
announce
yeah, yeah,
possibly and
yeah.
unveil. The big news this week, and it actually I saw yesterday, was that the Surface Laptop 3
Hmm.
will possibly come with an AMD processor,
Yep.
also, and a new 15-inch variant.
Right. So the AMD things, that rumor's been around for a while.
Yeah.
Uh, it has a pretty high degree of possibility attached to it. The 15, that's brand new. That's from Tom. I'd never heard this one. But I think of a 15-inch Surface laptop, and I think perfect. That would be perfect.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I know a lot of people need the graphics and all that in the Surface Book, but a less expensive 15-inch with integrated graphics would be something I would be interested in. Like that's my kind of laptop. That's
Listen,
cool. So
15-inch version of this also allows you to go with a better video card or video chip inside also because the
yeah,
chipset
maybe.
changes.
Yep, yep.
Yeah. The other thing that I found interesting here is the the headphone conversation that they're saying Microsoft may have a AirPod alternative. That was another, and I
Yeah,
thought, why, at first when I read it, I was like, why do they want to do that? And then I remembered, oh, they already have headphones.
right. Yeah. So after they had come out with the headphones late last year, I think early this year, I wrote an editorial where I was like, headphones are fine, but that should be part of a product family. And a lot of people work in offices and so forth would probably prefer in-ear buds, that did like passive noise cancellation, whatever. And I think it was like a week later, not even, there was a report that Microsoft was in fact working on that exact product. So that could happen. There's rumors of a smart speaker of some kind that would be for Microsoft Teams, for like a workplace, like a work group, sitting at a table, could all share from a single speaker. I think we could see Hololens 2, although that's supposed to launch this month supposedly. And then of course the Surface Hub 2X, which is the the really awesome one that you can put multiple screens together and create a
Yeah,
giant screen and all that kind of stuff, flip it around.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so there could be that. Mary Jo said last week that Surface Book might not be revved with this announcement, which would be interesting and unfortunate. But I guess we'll see. With the Surface Pro, obviously, we've seen stuff about that.
Yeah,
That's a lot of stuff right
it is
there.
a lot of stuff. I'm curious
You
about this.
know.
You're going to be here for the event, correct?
Yep.
Did
Yep.
you figure out what you're going to be doing? Because it's a Wednesday.
I know.
Yeah.
No. So we know it's at 10 o'clock in the morning. The most likely and the thing I would push for would be not to do it till Thursday, and then we could just go home and worry about that the next day.
Yeah.
But I don't know 100%. I think I think we have to figure that out this week.
Yeah. So before I know we have a couple Q&As we're going to do also, but I do want to talk about this product that I got. Lutron, as you corrected me, Paul.
Sorry.
Lutron. I had no idea that you had a connection in some way to the company. That your
Yeah, so
father
they're
worked for
local.
them.
I mean, the reason this house that I'm in was my father's house. That's where he worked. And my uncle John, who's passed away, lived in this development as well. But yeah, it's a local lighting company.
Yeah, so they reached out to me probably around the summer, and they said, "Hey, we want to send you this dimmer. Do you have any Philips Hue
Mhm.
bulbs?" And I didn't at the time. And I said, "I don't have Philips Hue." They said, "Don't worry about it. We'll send it to you." And they sent it to Paul first. So Paul
Right.
has a set, and they sent me one a couple weeks later. So I wanted to show this. Part of the problem, we did all this renovation in my house, and uh, the big problem here is that I put all these smart bulbs everywhere, but I didn't I didn't put smart switches for whatever reason. It was an oversight on my side, and I didn't put, smart switches where to control the lights, where I could kind of control everything uh physically, right? Analog. Just click on something rather than use my phone. My wife hates the fact that you control these with the phone and you don't actually, I don't have any outlets or any switches where I could hit the button and do it. So when they reached out, I said, absolutely, I want to try this out. So this is actually one of the simplest or simpler methods to control your smart lights, your Philips Hue bulbs.
Yep.
These work specifically with Philips Hue. I'm sure that somebody could figure out, it's maybe some other lights maybe somehow could work with these. I don't know. I haven't dug too much into that, but essentially all this is, so this piece here clips onto your traditional light switch. It doesn't work with with the dimmers like the other one. What would you call the other ones? The flat ones?
Uh,
A flat
right.
switch?
A
Whatever it
rocker,
is.
or is it a?
This is with the
I
rocker,
should
yeah.
know this
This is
term.
the old one.
I
You should know
installed
this.
117 of them in my house. I think it's just called a switch.
Okay. So this works with the traditional switch, right? The one that you flick
The
up and
smaller,
down,
the
the
little.
smaller one.
Yeah.
So this piece right here goes on the
I
switch. So
can't.
you
You're
lock
you're
it.
showing me, not the thing.
Okay, here we go. There you go. See that?
There you
So this goes right on the switch. So it locks it in on the on or off position, depending on what either up or down, depending on how your light switches. So you lock it in. This piece clips on to this, and now this is what you use to control your lights.
Right.
So you sync this with your
Smart.
Philips Hue device. So I actually brought one down because my Philips Hues are in my bedroom, and I don't want to film this in my bedroom. So he has a light right here. So obviously I have it on blue because I want it to match the room. So it's just simple. So I turn it on, and I turn it off. That's it.
Does it?
There you go. I wanted to reset. I wanted regular light.
Okay.
So you could actually dim
So you
it.
can dim it.
Yep.
But
You
that's
could
like
dim it.
software-based dimming. It's not taking advantage of something that's in the wall
It is not taking advantage of
that's in the
something in the
plate or
wall.
whatever. That's because
Yeah.
it's just a feature of Philips Hue. Yeah.
Yeah. So it detects it, it syncs up, and it just works. It's not connected to anything. There's a battery inside this device, and
Mhm.
you're able to dim it. I want it on regular lights so you could kind of see. So what I did, I bought one. After they sent me one, I bought one also for the other side of my bedroom. So I have two light switches in my room, and they're independent of each other. So I bought two of these so I could control both sets because I like to have the physical thing, and it works
Mhm.
unbelievably well. It's like $40, $38 right now on Amazon. The price goes up a dollar or two depending on when you're buying it. But if you are not looking to do any kind of electrical work, you're not looking to replace the switches, and you just want something that'll control the lights, and it took me like a minute. This is actually a really cool device, and I really liked it, and I want to give them a shout out here on the show. It's made by Lutron. It's called the Lutron Aurora, and it's dimmable too, which is the cool part of this. So you could dim it, you could turn it on and off, and you get to get like a couple of these and just pop them on. I I sometimes take mine off, and I keep it next to the bed, and I use it as like an independent device where I could, hit the
Right.
lights like next to instead of like going to my phone and doing that, I just hit the button, which is pretty cool. I don't know if they that's how a lot of people use it. I highly doubt it, but the fact that I could just hit the button and, right next to me and get it working is great. So, if you guys are interested, it's a pretty cool device. Paul, you have yours. I'm curious when you check yours out,
Yeah. What
you
I
know.
don't have are those switches in the wall because I replaced them all with those
Oh, did you really?
the toggle things, whatever those are
Yeah.
called. Hmm. All right. I'll take a look at it.
Yeah.
I'll
Check
figure
it
it
out.
out.
I mean, listen, you could even have it like this. So if I was running Philips Hues in here, I could have all the lights and just have it next to me, and I could dim it or go
Yeah, I was
light
just
here.
thinking about that because actually one of the Philips Hue lights we use is on a lamp, and it's not connected to a switch of any kind. It's kind of a pain in the butt just to get up in it to do the little the little switch in there.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah, it's cool. It's a cool device. So I want to talk about
Yeah,
that. Do you want to save questions for the post show?
yeah. Let's do that.
Let's do that. Let's save it for what the talk. I'll also release it as if it's like a regular podcast, so you guys could kind of do your Q&A with us at the end. I'll just do an extra
I
one.
do it from under the sheets of my
You could.
bed so I can
Do
just
you
fall
want?
asleep halfway through.
Do you want? I think you need the hair of the dog. I think that's what you need.
Oh God, yeah, that's the last thing I want. But that's a
Yeah,
good point.
yeah, that might help you.
Hmm,
You might feel a
that's
little bit
true.
better. You might feel a little bit better. That's what I'm saying.
Oh
All right,
man, two
guys.
o'clock in the afternoon.
Let's wrap it up. Guys, go to our website, gfqnetwork.com. You can subscribe to us. We're everywhere podcasts are available. We're out of time, so we're going to do our Q&A and some of the questions for What the Talk, which is our bonus show. It's available on Patreon, patreon.com/whatthetech. You can fund us there and get access to all this tremendous archive of content that we have up there. For all things Paul, go to Thurrott.com. Daily articles going up every single day. Daily podcasts. You're doing like 8,000 podcasts now. Was that the accurate number? 8,000?
I'm sorry, the accurate number what?
A podcast you do a day? About 8,000
Oh, wait,
podcasts?
yeah, yeah. It's it works out to be 7 a week.
Yeah. So it's tremendous. You're doing a lot. You go and support Paul there. You could join the Rot Premium, get access to all these cool little things on the site. And we'll see you all next time. Take care.